Okay, warm-ups for today. Again, day 3 of 3 on test-inspired warm-ups. I hope you've seen all 3 days. If you're just logging on for this one, I'd press pause and give these a go. Although number 2 is going to be a little bit tricky and a little bit harder than the one that you'll see on the test on Monday, Tuesday of next week. But press pause and give them a try, and then come back when you're ready to see me work them. All right, number 1, solve using the square root principle. So I'd like to square root it eventually, but I don't want to square root it right now because things would be a mess, 5s and 41s and whatever. So let's move the 5 over. 41 minus 5 is 36. Whoops, thank you. And then let's move the 5 over. Let's divide by 2. It's 18. Now we're ready to square root both sides, because you don't want to square root both sides until the squared thing is by itself. Otherwise you'd be dealing with the square root of 2, or the square root of 5, the square root of 41. You don't want to mess with any of those. So get the squared thing by itself first, then you can square root both sides. So x minus 2 equals plus or minus. Let's see, square root of 18 is 9 and 2, so 3 root 2. Then we'll move the 2 over, so 2 plus or minus 3 root 2. Questions on that one? Yeah, so tried to point you in the right direction using square root, because if you multiplied it all out, I don't know if you did that, you'll get there, but it's a mess on the way. So if you can square root it, square root it. All right, number 2. Completing the square. To complete the square, you have to have a equals 1. So right now, this isn't really even eligible to use complete the square. But let's move the 28 over. And then I can divide everybody by 3. And then I'll have my a equals 1. Plus I'll have a much easier quadratic to work with. So a couple steps later, now I'm ready to use complete the square. The one on the test mirrors this one in those early steps. Now I'm ready to do the half it, square it, add it thing, where I take half of b and this is where this one is unlike the one on the test, because the one on the test is better, because b is an even number on the test. So when you do half of b, you get an integer, not an ugly fraction. So test has to complete the square. It has one where you got to move things over and divide by that lead coefficient. But then it's much nicer at this half it phase, because you're going to get a better answer. So this one's ugly, but we can still do it. Oh, I kind of jumped a step. I need to move 7 out of the way. When I square 5 over 2, reminder, you will have a calculator on the test. It's not open note, but you will have a calculator. So when you square that, I would probably square it using just as a fraction, because that's easy to do. Square the top, square the bottom. If you squared it with a calculator, you'd get 6.25, and for this problem, that'd be fine too. Again, this isn't going to be an issue on the test, so I'm not really worried about it. We factor it. Normally, we would look at that and think, no way can I factor that. That's crazy. Except that it always factors with b over 2. So because of how it always factors, I can factor this one. Otherwise, there's no way I figure out what multiplies to 6.25 and adds to -5. Okay, this is kind of ugly over here. I think I'll just switch back to decimal, since the one on the test is not going to be this bad. Now this problem is kind of like the one we just did. I could square root both sides and move the 5/2 over. So x minus 5/2 equals plus or minus square root of 13.25. Who knows? I'm not worried about it because the one on the test isn't that bad. Move the 5/2 over and be done with that problem. Yuck. So that's the extra yuckiness in that problem is my fault. But the process is still the same. Half it, square it, add it, and then use the square root method to solve. Questions on that one? Oh, you guys are still writing. I need to slow down. Number 3, solve that inequality. This was one of the last things we did. So let's back up. If we're solving an inequality, we find the zeros, we put them on a number line, we test the intervals, and then we answer in interval notation. Well, that's sort of the roadmap, the steps we'll follow. So find the zeros, put those on a number line, and then check and see what works. 2x squared minus 18 is less than 0. Since this is an equation, or actually an inequality, I can divide both sides by 2 and make this even easier to deal with. So x plus 3 and x minus 3. So x equals negative 3 and x equals 3. Tell me to slow down if I'm going too fast. It's not much worse in a math class than straight copying down and having no idea what you're doing because you don't even have time to think about it. You're just frantically writing. I hope that's not the case in here. Stop me if it ever is. Negative 3 and 3. Please don't make this mistake. I'll tell you now, people who make really bad mistakes, I'll take a picture of them and share them in the math department group me, and we'll have a good laugh at your expense. If you do this, I will take the picture of your work and share it with my friends. I don't ever put names on it, so I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying that would be worthy of, oh my gosh, what is this kid thinking? Right? Because you got to put the smaller number on the left. Are you laughing at me for doing that?
No, I just didn't see what was wrong with it first.
Do you see what's wrong with it now?
Yeah.
Good. Do I need to take your picture and share it with my friends? Smaller number on the left, bigger number on the right. Open circles, because it's not equal to. And then I don't know where to shade, so I'm going to just test some points. Maybe we remember the shortcut that it usually alternates. Only the double root keeps it from alternating. I don't have any double roots, so this should alternate. You can test it in the original. I usually like testing it into the factored form, because then all I'm worried about is negatives and positives. So negative 4 plus 3 would be negative 1. Negative 4 minus 3 would be negative 7. Negative times negative is a positive. Positive less than 0. No, that's not true. You okay with that? You're looking like you're not okay with that. Okay? All right. Speak up if you're not okay. We don't want to just blitz through these and not understand what's going on. I plug in 0. 0 plus 3 times 0 minus 3. So, again, the numbers really don't even matter. Positive times negative is negative. A negative is less than 0. So we will shade in between there. And if you're feeling really confident, or if you're super pressed for time, you could just assume that the last one won't work based on the alternating rule. but we got time, so I'll check it. 4 plus 3, 4 minus 3. 7 times 1, 7 less than 0. No, that's not true. So it fits what we thought it would fit. It alternates. Not quite done because I want my answer in interval notation. So I read the number line from left to right. It starts at -3 and ends at 3 with open or with parentheses because the circle's open because it's not equal to. So all those go together. Questions on any of that? Okay, again, the 3 days of warm-ups, and nobody was here for all 3, so either the days you weren't here, check Schoology, they're labeled as day 1, day 2, day 3. The 3 days of warm-ups plus the review worksheet is a great picture of what's on the test. And again, the review answers are posted in Schoology as well, with permissions fixed so that you can access them. So good luck studying, and I will see you guys on Monday or Tuesday.